ulti's going to pop off from Oracle. Hook back in from Andros. Going to be charging up that epicenter. No one's getting out of here. That's 3 going down. Disruptor, he was de-warding. Look at the damage. Oracle buys back, sweet as honey, says the big boy bear, and they are going to just crush your high ground from this. What a massive fight.
And we're back. It is day 2 of week 5 for LPL Season 2, where it had amazing day 1 of this week. Eternal Discord 2 0ing Oracle, proven to be even better than Need Uprising. This week has already started off amazing. And WanderingBard, I don't know how we go from this. It seems already too good, and it's just day 2, and another series is looking just as amazing.
Yeah, I know what you mean, GTH. It seems like every day it must be even more difficult for the Dota to improve in quality, and yet we keep getting these terrific matches. Last night's matches, no exception. Big results in terms of the ladder. Internal Discord 2-0 over AGN, and then Oracle AU dumpstered Need Uprising, a decisive 2-0 victory for them.
That is right, and it's looking even more decisive in the leaderboard. We're getting down to the mix of it, where it gets a little bit interesting here. We do have Oracle right at the top as 9-1, but if we look a little bit further down, FFYV2, who are playing tonight, are 7-1 themselves. So this series tonight is gonna be big.
Yeah, we identified early on that these top 4 teams, Oracle, Neats, FFYV2, and Crossfire, would be the most serious contenders for the crown this season, and it's proved as they now begin to run into each other. We're really sorting out the pecking order, and we're going to do more of that tonight. Crossfire against FFYV2 in a hugely consequential match.
That is right. These teams, they've been proving themselves dominant in every week. Maybe they have stumbled a little bit. FFYV2 stumbled in the last week. Crossfire stumbled a couple weeks ago, losing 2-0 to a team, but now we're going to prove it back and get some points back on the boards. And these squads, they're looking pretty amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. FFYV2 have been one of the strongest teams all season, probably the only team who've maybe looked like they compare favorably against Oracle. But we're going to leave with Crossfire, of course. Tobbs, Bausu, Reverie, Xavier, and Andros players we're well familiar with. This team's been around for a while and proven their quality and consistency time and time again. As you mentioned, did go down 0-2 to Neat, so they will be looking to get a 2-0 here. It's a big ask, but that's what they need to try and stay in top contention.
And you spoke big about FFYV2, and the squad is looking just as big. A little bit more solid this week. Chestnut playing officially in the squad for now, but Cass, F18, Chestnut, massed away by Hunter. They've proven it week after week that these guys know how to play, and they play big.
Yeah, their coordination and their ability just as individuals has been incredibly impressive for a team that we haven't looked at in the LPL Pro League before this season. And so they would have to be my favorites for tonight, I think, but it's by no means a sure thing. Particularly, we saw FFYV2 finally drop their first game loss to AGN, a team who've kind of been, middle or even lower down on the ladder this season. And I think that loss exposed what might be a weakness Crossfire can exploit, their drafting phase.
That is true. And Crossfire, they do have some amazing drafts. Well, they have players that play very specific heroes, but they don't care about a little flex. Xavier, who used to play position 4, went to the offlane, and then he's just showed so much variability in the offlane role. And same with Andros, who filled that position 4 role. He's got every single hero that Xavier played and more.
Yeah, it's so important to have a team who can be dynamic in their drafts, especially in this patch. It seems to be just a trend in competitive Dota over time that more and more and more the most important thing is to keep your opponent guessing throughout the first 3 or even 4 picks of the draft as what your lanes will be. And having players like Xavier who can kind of fill multiple lanes, multiple roles, it's more about their play style. And once your team learns to draft around those players, that's when you unlock that creativity and that flexibility in the draft phase. And that's what Crossfire have to bring to the table tonight if they want to take down FFY.
That's right. And also capturing that momentum, making sure that you can control the game and just dictate the games as you want it. Because we saw Oracle last night. They controlled the entire series against Need Uprising and made sure they just played to their tune every single time.
Yeah, that series, if Crossfire watched that, I'm sure they had some eyes on it. It would have been a pretty worrying sight because what we saw there was a team, Needs Uprising with their captain Fury have arguably some of the strongest drafts going in the region, but you can only draft for the players and the matchups that you're actually playing. And we saw the amount of skill that Team Oracle have just in every individual player mechanically forced some unusually awkward drafts out of the Neats, and yeah, kind of led them to be on the strategic back foot for the whole series.
Yeah, it seems like we do need to get a foot forward going to it. And both these teams are really got to bring it to the table here because this game is going to be massive going into the series. But first, before we do start all the action off, we are going to be hearing a few quick messages from our sponsors. So guys, don't go anywhere. It's going to be a short break and the action is going to be starting soon. But we will see you in a sec. Short break was promised, and the action is about to be started. FFY V2 versus Crossfire is about to come onto the screens, and this game is looking pretty big between the two. We talked about it a whole bunch. They need to put the points on the board here because FFY V2, they have the possibility of staying in the first position here. They just need a 2-0 Crossfire, but that's still a massive challenge in itself because Crossfire plays massively every game. And speaking of game, we're straight on into it. We've already got a draft, we've already got the bans, and speaking of weird bans, a first phase ban on Visage.
Grimstroke.
Yeah, obviously just targeting bans at Crossfire at the moment, although the Witch Doctor ban is a little bit more curious, but you definitely don't want to give up a pick like Visage if your team isn't ready for it. Maybe it's the kind of pick that your mid laner who's otherwise confident just says, oh, well, look, if you can take their Visage out, I think I've got it handled, because it is sort of an unusual matchup that can be very heavily punishing of certain heroes. So I don't mind that as a first phase ban. It's a little bit wild, but you know.
Whoa. Speaking of wild picks, though, the Warlock Spectre combination first phase. That's something we haven't seen for quite a few patches now.
Yeah, we are racing into it, but I've seen, I mean, it's an odd place to get your picks, but there's been a lot of buzz about Spectre from Dota players experimenting and then talking on social media, you know, posting match histories, lots of people in like, high-ranked matchmaking queues, experimenting with Spectre builds. It seems like with the slight rebuff to economy, like there's just more gold on the map now in the early phases of the game compared to the last patch, and the, sort of increased safety of laning, Spectre just comes back into vogue.
That's true. I mean, one of the best heroes to have with a Spectre who might not be the strongest in the laning stage is a guy that just constantly regens you and keeps you at full HP. So if you are going to be greedy, it's fantastic to pair it up with the Lork here, but it does mean the aggression at lane might be a little bit weaker.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see FFYV2 ban out the Witch Doctor, who can, punish sort of greedy, tanky offlaners, and then go, straight to the Warlock Spectre lane that sort of doesn't really put that much pressure on those laners. But on the other hand, Warlock and Witch Doctor are sort of probably the two most classic babysitting heroes. They just have great efficiency in terms of healing in the early game. So if you're picking a Spectre and you don't pick the Warlock straight away and the Witch Doctor's already banned, there's the possibility that FFYV2 could attack with bans the Spectre's supporting cast. So by locking up what is probably their safe lane early on, Crossfire are revealing some aspect of their draft, but they could still take it in a few directions. They could play very greedy with multiple farming heroes and sort of split the attention of FFY in terms of who they shut down, or they could pick, three quite aggressive heroes and then sort of have that Spectre as a backup, as we saw yesterday done by, I believe it was Internal Discord with a Medusa, or was that Oracle?
No, that was Internal Discord. They had Ilium on the Medusa.
Yeah,
they just have everybody else fighting, and Alien was doing his own thing.
That worked out terrifically. So maybe Crossfire saw that and are going for a similar, not so much 4 protect 1 as just 4-1 split in terms of strategy.
5 seconds remaining.
Yeah, and their bans are very specific right now. Ursa, who's been proven to be insanely powerful this patch, taken out. Slark, a man who likes to build a Silver Edge whenever he wants, can break the Spectre. He's gone too, but FFYV2, they got some more interesting bans. They're taking away the Nyx Assassin and the Mars.
Yeah, so FFYV2 going with Grimstroke Rubick, this is almost certainly their support duo, and it's quite a greedy one. Not the worst duo of all time, especially when you know already that a Spectre is in the lineup, and this is kind of what you give away as Crossfire by revealing a core like Spectre in the first phase of the draft. You know that as FFYV2, the all lanes will barely be under any pressure, and there's going to be room to fit this Rubick and this Grimstroke in without costing your core's farm. But it does mean that, they aren't picking up a core, and Crossfire might just continue to go through and ban all the Silver Edge buying carries, as you said, because that item is so potent against the Spectre. And FFYV2, by banning the Nyx, have actually removed one of the other sources of break. So by banning Viper, now they really do have to purchase a Silver Edge.
That's right, and right now they've purchased themselves some damage with the third pick. Queen of Pain being picked up by Crossfire.
Yeah, so FFYV2, it's interesting to see what they go for here. Their other bans in banning the Mars and the Axe particularly shows that they expect what I described, where Crossfire are going to try and play quite an aggressive team fighting style. And then, it's the classic play with Spectre is that you just have the Spectre farming, and as long as you get a strong initiation with your, Arena of Blood or your Berserker's Call, you press Haunt, and it's like the Spectre was there the whole time. So by, banning out initiators and now picking the Batrider, they're going to try and avoid that and maybe just get small pickoffs. I see lots of single target stuff and not really the AoE stuns.
Legion Commander.
Yeah, but then Legion Commander just comes out. You can purge off that lasso, so that's a really strong counter to the Batrider. But does the combo still work out? You have Inkswell, you have the Batrider Triton Chronology, you have Rubick for control, so you still have a 3-man killing squad, and Legion isn't going to be everywhere.
10 seconds.
What I worry about that 3-man killing squad is it's just not a ton of damage. Like, you can probably kill a Warlock, and depending on the relative levels and items, maybe the 3 of them together can kill a Queen of Pain. But assuming this is your 3, 4, and 5 position heroes, like, that can't gank a Spectre. I don't even think it can gank a Legion Commander if she had, I'm just imagining, like, the maths where you get lassoed and nuked by a bunch of stuff, and then you just press yourself to heal and teleport. And you probably live and get out. So I'd expect more follow-up from FFYV2. They need to commit more heavily to this strategy.
Well, right now they do need to follow up. They're using a whole bunch of reserve time to follow up, but they do have the 4th pick to answer this Legion command. They have a whole bunch of disable, but you've seen the Legion, you've seen the duel and the control. Do you want to go away from a certain hero against this matchup? Because Legion is a fantastic laner.
Yeah, obviously we've seen the Legion really bully melee laners in particular. It's very hard to come forward and get CS without copping hits from the overwhelming odds her Nuke. And while she actually does not have to skill that at all to win most lanes, you'd rather pick a hero that isn't as vulnerable to it because they're still a 5th pick, and Crossfire could bust out. I mean, they're kind of looking probably for their support that will be paired with the Legion. If they pick something else really oppressive in that lane, it could shut down a melee carry. So Troll Warlord, a nice safe pick, has the ultimate as well to survive. If you live through a duel or a Qwop, Nuke combo or a Haunt, you're not going to get just finished off by a bit of chip damage. You'll be able to get some value out of your carry hero, and that is very important against this lineup.
And, I mean, you probably don't want to do it these days, but he can potentially build a Silver Edge if you really, really wanted for him to pick it up.
It seems like the build-up actually probably favors him a bit more than it used to now, right? Like the Blitz Knuckles, you could say that at some point attack speed has diminishing returns, but I don't hate it so much on the Troll Warlord, and, probably better than just trying to build an ultimate orb in any case. I do think that Troll Warlord or Wraith King was the pick I would have gone with here for the carry, so I think FFYV2 are in a good spot. Yeah, well, Wraith King would have been vulnerable to the melee harassment, but yeah, just these sort of undying carries. As we see Razor banned again, there seems to be a constant ban. Yeah. Lots of teams afraid of the Razor.
Well, I mean, if you do have the Troll Warlord there, the man's going to be ulting, hitting, and then the entire time Razor is still going to be draining. So it seems like a very Troll-specific ban coming up.
I mean, that's true, but then are you also going to ban, other heroes who sort of have disarms or like stat stealing abilities that they can farm off the Troll's ultimate? It's a very punishable skill by a lot of heroes.
It is. Yeah, they took away both of them. Like, they got an OD to keep away the banishes, but then that means you still have potentially... I don't think you want to go down that way, but maybe Shadow Demon of Bane or one of those other heroes that can just banish you away anyway. But yeah, I mean, it's safer for the Troll now that they're gone.
I just think it's very surprising that FF5A2 with their last 2 bans have taken out Cores when Crossfire already have Legion, Qwop, and Spectre. That implies that they suspect this is either a support Qwop or a support Legion. I don't hate either of those completely, but it is sort of not the non-default option. I mean, support Qwop plus an offlaner would be absolutely devastating if you think you can get away with Legion mid, but, a Crossfire going to try and work hard to get the lane matchups they want, because... Oh, Void Spirit, okay.
F1v2, they're just having fun. They're picking up Void Spirit. So they've got a 4-man ganker squad to defend the 5th man. The Troll Warlord, a little bit reminiscent of Eternal Discord's draft from last night.
Yeah, it's also reminiscent of some of the other drafts we saw last night that weren't so successful. Heroes like Rubick and Grimstroke and even Batrider can struggle when you aren't the initiator. This is something we keep coming back to. These fragile, slow-moving int heroes who have single-target spells are often very vulnerable to being run at by multiple heroes, especially if they aren't prepared for an attack from that direction or they don't have a screening, tankier hero in front of them. So FF5v2 are going to have to watch out for this Legion Commander or especially the Haunt.
That's true. You can still be just chase him down whenever he wants. That's the beauty of Spectre. He can be anywhere you want at any time you need, and as long as he's just hitting the creeps, he's as happy as can be. But Crossfire, they kind of need a final pick here. They've seen the Void Spirit. Do you want the Queen of Pain to be mid now? Is that the matchup you're fine with here and you just want to pick a different full position?
I think the Qwop matchup against the Void Spirit is a matchup you're okay with. The question is, how much do you want to gamble on the mid lane to try and devastate this safe lane troll Warlord? Would you fully commit and go with a different, more aggressive offlaner? It's kind of a tricky spot because they half want a team fight controlling hero. They're a bit low on stun. The Warlock Golem has an extremely low cooldown, and other than that, it's just the duel at the moment. But I could also see them even going for an Undying type hero, just trying to be just sort of unapproachable in fights. And the constant slow and damage from these zombies is actually a pretty good counter to both slow-moving supports like Grimstreak and Rubick, as well as heroes like Void Spirit who try to dart around the fight. It's sort of a bit of a tension you can't shake off.
Yeah, it's true. You can't run away from zombies because they will chase you down. They'll nip at your legs, but eventually they'll kill you anyway. But 20 seconds here, so they don't exactly have too much time to think about their final pick here. They've taken away Ember, Shadow Fiend, Razor, OD. The options are kind of limited if they do want to go on the mid, and their answer is just Husker. Just throw down the Husker. All right, I'm liking it, but are you liking it? Is that Crossfire's win condition now?
They have two win conditions, right? Their Huskar is their early game, and they're kind of throwing it out there. But Huskar is a volatile hero, so rather than go all in on winning with this Huskar, they are going to say, Balsu, you farm in the background. If Reverie, at some point falls off and we haven't won the game yet, hopefully this Huskar and controlling the Huskar does so much economic damage to FFY V2 that they have to, they crumble before the Spectre. And it's also worth noting, YGod back in the FFY V2 lineup for the first time in a couple of weeks on the Void Spirit. That is a big game because YGod in the matches that we saw him play, hugely impressive on these mechanically intense mid laners.
That is true. He kind of dictated the entire game both times he played. I believe the TA was literally just a stomp. The man farmed the entire map. He was about 20 minutes in. He was just a beast, and he destroyed the entire base here. But this time, he's got a worse matchup here. He doesn't have the favorable one. He's got to survive against the Huskers, so maybe putting a few chains on the legs of YGod are going to slow him down enough so Crossfire can take the game here.
Yeah, it seems like maybe Crossfire even would have tried to set up this draft for a Huskar last pick to make sure that they were making YGod's life as hard as possible, because in addition to that farm-heavy TA game where he was the primary carry, we also saw him play a game as Wind Ranger where he played the opposite role. He was kind of the playmaking mid. But both games he was able to transition very well out of his laning phase based on what his team needed and fulfill completely different roles to equal effectiveness. So this is a really powerful and enabling player for the rest of FFY V2. Need to shut him down. There's not many heroes who do that better than Huskar. Can't really lane against this.
That's true. It'll just throw burning spears at you every single time you show up. And I guess you've got yourself a little bit of a shield to keep the physical damage away, but then again, fire's a little bit magical and it'll burn you down anyway.
What a surprise.
Yeah, I wouldn't even be surprised to see Crossfire commit fully to this and rotate their Queen of Pain support over a couple of times in the early game, right? Like, this is one of the advantages of the hero. She's very mobile, and that Shadow Strike is a terrific ganking tool. Huskar does not need a lot of help to get kills in this matchup. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how YGod reacts, especially now you can no longer pull the creeps around the mid lane to kind of avoid fighting the Huskar completely. You have to face up to him in the first 5 minutes.
That's true. And the one thing I was going to point out, a whole bunch of people have been talking about since the patch changes, is Huskar still a hero? Because braces, they are no longer magic resistant. So now Huskar has no magic resistance himself.
I mean, that's a drawback, but the hero has sort of, danced in and out of having magic resistance from passives or items throughout its career. If it becomes important, you could go back and just buy a casual cloak or a casual hood at some point. But the magical burst isn't amazing coming out of FFY V2.
I was about to say, FFY V2 have their answer. They've got a Bat Rider putting a wall down mid, so maybe they just send the Bat in the mid lane anyway and avoid this matchup completely.
30 seconds to
I mean, the Bat Rider already wants to try and avoid the matchup against the Legion Commander, I would assume, just because of how pressed the attack just denies Bat Rider's pressure in the laning phase from the Napalm stacks. So if you can also avoid putting the Void Spirit in a matchup where, as a melee hero, it's just going to eat endless harassment, then that's a win-win for FFY.
That's true, and right now we're looking for a win-win right now because we're fighting the runes. Xavier's already manned up with Andros as well, but we have 3 heroes in the top just to present the force. Chestnut now playing the position 5 role for FFYV2, just manning up the Grimstroke will get them the runes, and unfortunately Rubick can't steal the one on the high ground away from the Radiant, so it will be an even trade as Baosu goes to just steal your rune away. So good start from both sides here, pretty even start from both sides here, but the laning stage seems pretty important. They've actually swapped the lanes around to get the better matchups here, so do you think FF1v2 have a better chance in these laning matchups here? The Void Spirit against the Spectre, is that ideal, or at least enough the Void Spirit can get the farm that he needs to make the impact that he wants?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, this is the softest lane you can possibly have, so you're making sure that your Void Spirit has the best chance of success. And of course, if you want to have the best chance of success in your games, you can always go and pick up one of the products from our monitor sponsor, Conquer, who has been so generous as to sponsor this entire season of the LPL Pro League. As we see Baosu demonstrating that Spectre is not actually such a slouch in the laning phase if you are alone. Going in, that Desolate, I believe, is the first skill, well, second skill level, but already the Shadow Dagger is doing a lot of damage to Wygod. So once you do get that passive and you start dealing pure damage on hit, this Kest Rubick is going to be kind of pinned to the lane because the Void Spirit is vulnerable prior to level 6.
That is true. He doesn't have the big escapes he gets to get back to safety here, but same with John Ward. He doesn't have any way to really purge off all the daggers flying out from Andros in the side, and Chestnut is trying his best to keep the Legion back, but he's got a whole bunch of regen himself. He's got even passive regen if he wants to level something, which he did. Overwhelming God's going to be popped by the Inkswell. It's going to be landing on Andros, and he can't blink away, so First Blood is going straight to FFYV2.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Andros miscalculating there on the Queen of Pain support. Obviously, Dagger is an incredibly powerful level 1 skill, but it looks like Chestnut has done a great job. And of course, the Troll switching to ranged mode by returning that harassment. And the Qwop steps too far forward at too low a hit point total. They immediately switch targets to her and kill her before she has skilled Blink.
Very smart plays from FFYV2. This is exactly what we see from the full squad so far. Wygod back in the mid lane, Massway back in the safe lane, and Chestnut proven to be such a versatile player himself. What has he done? He's done mid, he's done off lane, and now he's done position 5.
I mean, we weren't joking. We said this team look the goods. They are either the best or, sort of the second best team in the competition. It's really hard to say. But part of being the best team is having this kind of game awareness and versatility across all your players, and I continue to be impressed.
Yeah, still been impressed, Xavier. It's a little bit impressed by Chestnut just running straight for him with an Ink Swell because man's level 2, maybe Xavier's level 3, and just falling a little bit behind, but Baosu, he's at least having a good lane in the bottom. He's getting as much farm as he wants. Void Spirit, he may have 1,000 gold himself, but he is getting the XP, and I guess that's exactly what you want in this lane. You're probably not looking for the most gold, you just want that level 6.
Yeah, Void Spirit's net worth looks a bit low at the moment, but that's deceiving. It's because he brought all consumables to lane. Obviously, it's harder to get yourself, as actually Wygod is still trading blows, only down to those mangoes, so no more HP regen unless Kess has some to donate. But with the changes to couriers now being so slow to walk out with regen in the early game, you kind of do need to commit, especially when you're in the long lane, as it used to be called, to making sure you have the health regen to stay there for a few minutes.
Massway, overwhelming odds, get a little bit of movement speed, strike fade, a little bit soft, so a little bit of miscommunication there. Massway want to go for Andros, he gets the blink now because he's level 2, and now Xavier's left by himself. No nets coming out for the Troll Warland, but they will get a dagger back onto him. He's getting very low, and he might die for a couple more right clicks, but he should be able to move to safety. Stroke of Fate's going to miss from Chestnut as he walks back to safety, but Wygod's going to action on his own as Baosu goes straight for him. Baosu healing up the entire time, but Wygod doesn't have the same advantage because he's already used all his regen again.
Chestnut might be in trouble now with the dagger as well, and it's just, this is something we keep seeing when the top teams in our league clash. But all players on the map just constantly brawling at low hit point totals, really pushing each other to see who will make a mistake. And now Reverie actually under pressure from Buwan on the back line.
Oh man, he does get a one charge, actually going to be burning down the bat, so I think we're trading kills here. Bat goes down, but yeah, take down the Husker. That's worth it every single time.
A fiery demise for both heroes here, and yeah, I get the Husker losing the easy access to magic resistance, definitely costing him in this matchup of all matchups, is that fiery napalm builds up, fiery napalm combination, builds up and brings him down very quickly.
Well, I mean, if you take away the big, lane dominance factor away from Husker, is the man still the same hero? If he can't just shut down this Bat Rider like he was planning to shut down this Void Spirit, is it still worth investing in a Husker?
I feel as though obviously you would rather smash your lane because that's what you pick Huskar to do, but in a way by forcing Wygod into the off lane, they have already done some of that because now you're in this awkward spot where the Rubick needs to defend him and the Rubick also does need to take a share of XP because of course as a support he is so level dependent. Wygod now at risk of dying again as Bowser just charging at him every time Kess
nice
leaves the lane.
remnant though, but it's bonds. You just go for Kess here and you try and kill him adjacently. Kess sees the run, does get a room, they're going to chase down. Bowser still getting damage, not enough. Okay, yeah, fair enough. It doesn't take enough damage, but so we just have to kill Rubick entirely to kill the Void Spirit, but we're all good.
Yeah. Low level by sort of, you need to have something hitting every unit at once for it to really contribute that much damage. But at the same time, like, pressuring Wygod back to base, right? Like, this is, in a way, an effect of the Huskar. You know, this would not be happening were the Void Spirit mid, and this is not the start that you ideally wanted on Wygod. I mean, we've said that FO5v2 is not a one-player show, and they're going to have to prove it this game because it looks like Wygod is kind of being sidelined from that main carry role, or even main playmaker role, depending on how this lane continues to evolve. But, yeah, as long as the Huskar gets this farm here, Batrider is not a hero that's going to explode and take over the game the same way a Void Spirit would, so rather than shutting the Void down, it's more about just getting to your mid-game and having those basic Huskar items so you can keep going in like a madman.
And not to mention, the weeks that Wygod has been missing as well. F18 has been stepping up and playing the mid role for FFYP2, so they're not exactly changing the system entirely. They've just got F18 playing mid again, and Wygod is kind of standing in himself and his own team.
Oh yeah, it wasn't a knock on the ability of their other players to play the mid lane, but more Batrider as a mid hero does leave something to be desired compared to a Void Spirit.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's been a long time since this hero was like a sort of regarded as a spell damage threat, and we'll see, you know, a period where, oh actually Andros committing on the top lane on the massive way.
He's gone forward, but I think he went too far forward. Well, okay, movement speed is gonna be enough. Legion gets back to safety now. Andros, he's looking to go on in. They've got the illusion to a little bit damage on the back. The dagger isn't enough to take out the troll, but maybe it's enough to do with the chestnut. With a few daggers flying, Xavier doesn't really care at this point. He's just looking for the farm right now, but they are putting the pressure on the troll ward. But the net worth, it's not really looking like it. 2,400 to 2,000, but Bowser getting caught under the tower with a beautiful remnant, but it's a heal from Tobes that's keeping him alive. He's getting very low, does put the dagger to go on the high ground, and now he's just going to be sitting there as safe and sound as you need to go. Wygod getting low himself. Tobes is just running at him, but Bowser, happily, he's good. He doesn't die. He just waits it out. Regens has the clarity right now. He can TP back when he wants, and Tobes happy to heal him again. So a fantastic trade for Crossfire in the end. Wygod, man, he's so low.
I'm surprised they didn't like just try and commit like a second Shadow or something to try and get the Wygod with that, because man, these lanes are close and entertaining. The focus obviously just keeping on keeping Bowser alive. This is their safe lane, so it's most important that you protect your Spectre above all else. But yeah, every interaction coming down to like sort of a hair's breadth margin. No player really playing it too safe. We saw before Xavier barely avoiding that Inkswell at the top lane that would have meant his death, and then nearly turning around and getting kill on Massway a second time. So you can see that these teams are really pushing each other to their limits, seeing who will break first. So far, FFYV2 with a slight advantage.
That's right, and the advantage, it's coming in the form of a Huskar, because the Batrider currently has 1,500 net worth on top of the Huskar, who's being forced to jungle at this point, because Batrider has taken control of the lane. Rivery can't even enter it anymore.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mentioned that they might try and bring Andros' Qwop support across and gank them in lane, and I feel like that would have evened things up, or maybe allowed the Huskar to get a lead on the Batrider early on, but they made the commitment to just shut down the Troll Warlord instead, so they are telling Reverie that his early game is actually not that important, and I kind of agree. Like, Huskar is like a 2-item hero at most, and he's going to get those items regardless.
Xavier, silence, getting chased on that, and the bat is about to show who's the on for. Andros, he wants to get both, so he's actually going to be lassoing in the Legion. They take down the Queen of Pain on top, but it's the overwhelming goal is massive, but it's not massive enough. They lose a double. Referee's coming, and he ends up being empty-handed because everybody just runs back to safety. They disperse, and Reverie, he's not farming any creeps anymore. He doesn't have any camps, and that's even worse for our Huskar. He was happily farming the jungle. He had an opportunity to go back to the mid lane, but no. He wanted to save his teammates, comes to the top, and ends up getting nothing.
I mean, he's able to farm the triangle now, and the Batrider has taken over the mid lane pretty much completely at this point, already back there burning the creeps down. So I don't know if it's such huge economic loss over what he'd already taken, but that rotation from the Batrider was terrific. Buwan doing tons of work right now. And just, I mean, we mentioned that the Legion Commander is a pretty effective pick against the Bat, but this mid Bat has level 6 so fast, actually now is so highly leveled that damage, this is the time frame where Batrider is a terrifying source of magic damage, and no one's really prepared for it. There's no pipe up, the heals aren't leveled, the heroes just don't have high hit point pools, or they're all rushing braces as Mazway rushes at Xavier.
He just came back in. He's just charging, looking for the net. Can he get a net? No, he's going to get silenced, but he's moving so fast back to safety, but they kick the Legion right on out, and he doesn't have any region to enter back on in. So Xavier really feeling the pressure, but he does have pretty good last hits. He's got 41 last hits so far. Wygod himself, he's doing fine himself. Both off-laners have been pressured so hard, but they've been able to get the farm. Wygod, we're going to get Tobes here. Doesn't get a room, so we're just going to try and steal his good safety. I think we're good. Yeah, we're happy to go.
No more mana from the Spectre to punish.
No.
Dire's bottom
But for what it's worth, all these off lanes, all these lanes are fine. Even if you go for the Husker and say, yeah, he doesn't have too much gold, he's got the XP and can have an impact if he just works with the team around him, really. He's still a Husker. He can throw spears, he can disarm, and he can jump on people. He can still work.
Yeah, Huskar and Legion are both sort of heroes that you don't really mind if their farm is sort of a bit lower than you might expect for other cores. They can definitely be carry heroes, but in this case, it's definitely the Spectre who's the focus, and those two heroes are prepared to be sacrificed a little bit. So this is all still within acceptable ranges for Crossfire, but you would definitely rather not have had this Batrider have such an impact early on in the game. The most farmed hero on the map by far, and will continue to accelerate farm through this little mid-game phase. Probably pick up some very fast items.
F18 showed him the lane for the TP, but they're actually going to go for the same time. They're going for Xavier. They want to take double the options here, but with the Troll Rage, it's going for the Battle Chance. But then Reverie shows it up. He's trying to burn. Going to be disarming the Troll for now, but they've got friends. They've got friends in high places. The heal is good for press attack, but is enough. Troll still hit him. He will burn down in the end, but Reverie goes down. But at least the bright side of this is Bowsu did not die to the ganks between the Bat and the Void, so your highest farming cure, he's still all good, but Tobes' Golem, it ain't so much. Gonna get burned down to F18 and make him even bigger than he already was.
Yeah, wow, the Batrider with the Arcane Rune in case he needed any more ability, potency in the power spike that Buwan is experiencing right now. And sure, Bowsu might have lived, but that cost him the Warlock Golem just to save Bowsu's life.
True.
And that's going to continue to be an issue with these boosts of travel up so early and such a huge level advantage. The Batrider is going to be able to kill basically any hero from Crossfire at will, apart from maybe the Qwop. But you know that Spectre is the target. And especially anytime Lass was up, Bowser just has to hide in the deep jungle. They just have to weather this for like a few more minutes, but then, you know, how far behind will the Huskar and Legion be by that point? How long will the Spectre's Radiance, if that is what Bowser is building, be delayed? And one more thing that I do want to point out that I didn't quite get to before. The Legion Commander's build concerns me a lot. Just her skill build and the itemization right now. She seems to be quite far behind in terms of going for a Blink Dagger, so you know that she's not really the initiator. They want the Huskar to go in first. But in that case, you know, we saw this with Legion in the other games last night. You kind of want that heal to be her contribution. She doesn't have it leveled up. It's only just gotten to level 2 now, and that's not really going to help the Huskar at all against the amount of damage that FFY are currently outputting.
Yeah, no, it seems like they have too much physical damage right now. And I was about to say, you are Bowser right now. The Troll Ward is going for the Battle Fury. We know that. But if you're looking at this game as Bowser, you're looking at the laning situation as it is. Reverie isn't the big beast that he wants to be to make the space for you. Are you changing your build, or are you just committing for the Radiance, committing for your timing, and then you're just going to stay the course and be the big Spectre that we know we can play?
I think you have to go Radiance. I don't know if there's really any argument against it. It remains like such a dominant item. There's always an argument to switch away from core item builds, but like your team is putting the farm priority on you that you would expect for a Spectre. Other heroes are the ones making the sacrifices. So far, Bowsu's farm hasn't been really shut down. It's not going to be an amazingly fast Radiance, but I mean, look at the enemy team, multiple low hit point intelligence heroes who are going to struggle against that consistent burn. The mischance is very relevant against the Troll Warlord, at least until he gets a BKB, but it's just a great item to have, and it's going to accelerate your farm. You know, Warlord Battle Fury is kind of throwing down the gauntlet like, well, actually, can your Spectre keep up with this? And without a Radiance, I don't think you have much hope of that. Your team is not going to be in the lead in the near future, so you do need to be looking at a timing sort of 15 minutes from now, and I think Radiance is what helps get you there in the best state.
Yeah, and well, I mean, you do have two other heroes going for the stage. You said that you want to see Legion at least pick up the Blink to be the initiator instead of relying on the Husker to be. Because, I mean, the drafts, as planned, would have initiated with Husker. And they're like, okay, we'll put in the paper. Legion, you build auras, you make sure this Husker stays alive. But the Husker isn't exactly in the state where he can stay alive, even with a little bit of regen here. So it's just a sign that Crossfire aren't adapting as fast as they should in this game.
The Blink Dagger part, it's hard to see that as a failed adaptation just because Blink Daggers cost gold. And, you know, as fast as Xavier might be able to think on his feet, you can't just pull 2,200 gold out of nowhere. They have to farm that. The Legion's had a bit of trouble. And to a degree, you need to get your core farming items up first, just really basic boots and braces type stuff. It'll be the first.
Oh, hello.
Really
Who we found? It's Xavier himself who was farming his items. He ain't going to get any gold when they chase him down, blow him up, and that Excel pops him like a cherry. 29 seconds away from him, and he's got some time to think about his item build now, so that's at least good theoretically, but still, that means FF5v2, they're taking some dominant plays and keeping that gold lead in their favor.
Yeah, FF5v2 have decided, okay, the laning phase is over. We don't really need to mess around with this anymore. Our Batrider is the most farmed hero on the map. Our Troll is the second most farmed hero on the map, and we're going to make some space for WiGod. You know, he can come with us to fights. He's pretty mobile. And so now Crossfire, knowing that they have this Spectre hero who's completely passive and two other cores who are kind of struggling right now, don't really have any strong lead to take a fight. So FF5v2 are going to punish that brutally.
Well, right now they're punishing their jungle by taking all the creep camps away from Crossfire here. They've literally just basically got the triangle. That's it. That's all they get to farm this game. WiGod is securing the top lane, making sure it's all pushed in. And if anybody tries to say seal the runes, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a Void Spirit waiting for them and a Batrider ready to TP. So FF1v2 feeling pretty comfortable at this stage. They have answers to every single thing Crossfire are trying to do. In fact, they're going to be trying to get for Andros, but he does get the blink to safety. So we're all good. But Batrider, he's trying to commit. Alright, he pulls on back a little bit safety because he used the entire team. It's probably there. If they're not in the bottom jungle, they're probably hiding in the top.
Yeah, you have to be a little bit more cautious than you might otherwise be as Boo1 on this Batrider. You can't just throw your body in there to get the sick lasso on a core because you're the most farmed hero on the map. And now they're going to go for WiGod, who's been playing extremely aggressively despite knowing that the whole enemy team is here, just trusting that their lack of stuns is going to make his Void Spirit invincible.
Well, Disinvite gets him down, goes to the lower ground, finds Topes. Topes try to heal him, but he's still running away after step. But Step's on cooldown at this point, and Xavier's marching on down, ready for the duel, and gonna get it off. Batrider coming in, the horn from Bouncer. It does arrive, they get the kill with the Sonic Wave, they get a double. They put the Batrider in the ground. Two massive kills for Crossfire, exactly what they needed.
That was some surprisingly sloppy play from FF5v2. That is not the sort of stuff that we've seen from them all season. They've normally been very, very safe and very, very aware of the game state. And I didn't even think WiGod was out of position necessarily to be in the top lane before. They were they're being aggressive, and that does mean you need to play in dangerous spots, but kind of just burned all of his defensive and mobility spells very, very fast, which means that Crossfire can close in safely and surround him on the low ground there. And the fact that Boo1 committed when he was completely alone coming from that angle. Batrider is a fragile hero. It doesn't matter. You spend all your gold on boots of travel. That net worth lead really, like, you can't feel that in the fights in most cases.
Oh, no. They do damage. I mean, they've got, what, Sonic Wave, which is just instant burst that can destroy everybody in whip. You know, a nice little duel, 4 people here and hitting you is gonna hurt, and that's a whole bunch of space they exactly needed. That's a little bit of gold back to Bouncer, who is getting more farms time to farm the Radiant. Xavier, who hasn't exactly had the biggest space this game, is now finally gonna be able to hit creeps, Toast got XP. Things are going back in Crossfire's favor, but then again, right now, F1v2, they want to take some control back. They're gonna be pushing this tier 1 tower, isolating Bouncer, Remnant perfectly timed. Hits the Spectre, half HP, and Batrider coming to pull him back into the team. So all the gold you got is being delivered right on back to FF1v2.
Yeah, and now it's Bowser. Now it's Bowser who's feeling the heat from FF5v2 as the rest of the team takes pains to get farmed. But yeah, I don't know if that's actually good for Crossfire. I think you would actually rather continue to protect Bowser with all you've got until this Radiance timing comes up. The returns are not equal across all your heroes as they farm. This Spectre, her item is the most important by far.
Oh yeah, it always is with Spectre. I mean, that's why you put him in the position one role. You're putting all your eggs in kind of one basket here, because Reverie, he's got the armor, but he doesn't feel as strong as he is, because he's level 10. It's not the big power spike, the power explosion that we expect from the Husker and FYV2. They're pushing on all the lanes. They're making the space for Masawai on the troll, and maybe you get Chestnut. Okay, you burn him down, but that was your position 5 Grimstroke, who was just there to put some vision down and make sure his cores get out safely.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a death that you typically worry too much, at least the first couple of times, but I do want to point out this Grimstroke and this Rubick are a sort of underexplored angle of attack that Crossfire have on FFYV2. Compared to, say, Andros's Qwop, we've talked about this a lot with support picks who can scale and who can farm aggressively. Qwop is definitely one of those. The Blink, the Scream, all the things that make her a good core actually kind of make her a good support under the current way of thinking. She's going to continue to scale throughout the game pretty much no matter what, and be able to push out dangerous waves when Crossfire need her to. Where, okay, Rubick and Grimstroke can nuke waves out, but it takes them a little bit longer, and they are much more vulnerable to being ganked. And if Grimstroke continues to die, his relevance in the late game is going to be questionable. He's not going to be able to farm up items to synergize with his ultimate, and he is going to become a sitting duck for the burst damage, which we've already noted coming out of Crossfire, as was the Spectre.
Well, right now they're going to be taking that control back, trying to make the Grimstroke and the Rubick a little bit more relevant by smoke couple with the 3-man. But, you know, if we are Crossfire right now, I don't think we can, because everybody's in the top lane, including Bounce, including Reverie, including Xavier, and we're pushing this tier 1 tower. And then FFYV2 are like, okay, maybe we don't need to answer for a tier 1, because we're going to take your tier 2.
Yeah, smoke ganking the tier 2 tower, a classic move from FFYV2, and I do also note the Troll Warlord, the most farmed hero on the map now by quite a bit, farming in the jungle still, even picking up a Philostone probably for his team, but Buwan actually maybe going to get done by Xavier. No way!
They know it's that. Look forward, and they find Xavier with the blade mail. It's paying off. That Rider is killing himself, and with the rock drop, the Sonic Wave, the Fatal Bombs, they're calling it. They're doing it. They're forcing FFY to run, to get out with the tails between their legs, and while WildGod can step away to safety, they're losing 3 heroes instantly. The Fatal Bombs combination just destroys the heroes on FFYV2.
Wow, FFY getting called out there by Crossfire. They immediately went to look for that Batrider, and okay, they didn't find him. Xavier cut the wrong tree, and they decided to pop the smoke. Didn't realize there was clearly like a patch of hidden vision the Batrider was hiding in. But that reaction was so fast when they realized he was still there. And you know, the last two, I thought it might have worked out there for half a second, but as you said, the Blade Mail doing tremendous work at the moment. The only consolation for FFYV2, their troll was continuing to farm the entire time and is accelerating, but not actually pulling any further ahead of Baosu, given that Baosu just picked up a bunch of teamfight gold, and that is not good at all.
No, that is scary, as you can see, because the combos are big from Crossfire. That was just implemented. That just forces FF1v2. They had a pretty aggressive plan there. They want the bat to get initiated, get a little quick pick off, and then they take the tower and run away, get back to safety, and Troll Warlord is still farming. But no, they lost 3 heroes out of that. The ultimate combination is fierce on the side of Crossfire, but I guess one of the, the positive signs here is they are pretty long cooldown. Sonic Wave, the rock being dropped as well, and in fact, actually, WildGod, don't worry about that. He's being killed right now, but Batrider's gonna run, but can he even save him? Upheaval's gonna be helpful, but not too much, as we slow down the Batrider trying to pull away Xavier. Blade Mail put back on, burning down the bat, and the force is coming back from Crossfire. Ignore every single thing I said. It doesn't matter about ultimates. If you got a duel and you got a little bit of damage, you're gonna get yourself some kills.
We mentioned that WildGod is farming in dangerous spots as this Void Spirit, and he almost has to, he is the offlaner today, so it makes some sense that he's not, taking the really high priority farm. That's reserved for the Troll. But it means that he is extremely vulnerable, and kind of a slow or uncertain reaction there. Could have used something, but just sort of wasn't quite certain how to react. I think they were deciding whether or not to bring the team in, and unfortunately they kind of half-assed the response there. That lasso gets wasted, and we're seeing the limitations of Batrider as your mid hero, right? If that's an offlane bat, you presumably have a mid nuke someone down while they're lassoed. As the mid Batrider, there's not many ways for Buwan to increase the damage output while that disable's going on.
That's true. They did have that 1 power spike when it was level 9, but right now we're 21 minutes in. Everybody is a bump level 9, including Tobes, level 11 himself, 14 on Xavier with the Blink Dagger, the Blade Mail, everything you need, every single thing you need to enable this Legion, who's already found WildGod again. He played aggressive to push out the mid lane, but it cost him his life. An extra charge on Spirit Vessel for Andros, and maybe you keep the stun back, but Xavier is still charging forward. Andros is going to be throwing a dagger with the Spirit Vessel onto the Rubick, so I'm down and keep that damage sticking, but can they finish him off? He's half HP already, but they've already got a Batrider, they've got a Rims trying to keep him safe. Tower's not looking too safe itself. Andros playing so aggressive, but it's really just to keep everybody away from this tier 1 mid so they can take this tower and just get on back, because Bowser, he's pushing into tier 1 in the bottom lane at the exact same time, so maybe they can get 2 towers for their troubles and put FF1v2 firmly onto the fence here, because the gold is swinging right on back.
Dire's middle tower.
Yeah, it's funny how the tables can turn so quickly in Dota sometimes. You know, a few minutes ago, we were describing how FF1v2 were really taking the full map pressure to Crossfire because they knew that Baosu, as the carry hero, was off somewhere farming and not able to fight, but instead, as
he pops
this is a brave...
The rockets drop, but they can't kill him yet. Bowser's coming in, the chain's going off, the Sonic Wave used too early, but Masterway is dead anyway. Reverie arrives, disarms him and kills him, and now 3 are dead. Instantly getting chained up with the bonds, and now Batrider, he's trying to fly away, but he can't get away fast enough. 4 dead. Bowser shows up. Y-God says, hey, but it's just to get away. Can't even get back safe. No, Andros finds so that's teamwork. That's teamwork. Y-God just came in to sacrifice his life with the team. I mean, it's a commendable effort to go down with your friends, but you don't want to give any more gold to Crossfire right now, because they just seem to be giving away every single aspect of this game.
Dire's middle tower.
FF1v2 are collapsing completely at the minute. I'm not sure why the troll was farming that aggressively. A moment ago, they even saw the troll move to the hard camp on the other side of the mid lane, right? He glimpsed a Radiant hero and sort of hesitated before moving to farm that camp, the safer camp, and then Crossfire made a great read that he would actually play greedy and move to the other side of the lane, which is even further away from his team. And as soon as he's exposed Xavier, hitting so many blink duels so crisply, and with the golem follow-up, they knew that they would be able to take it. I was a bit worried for a moment that AoE stun cannot be denied, and honestly, GTH, I'm not sure what FF5E2 can do at this point. I think they needed to bring their troll to teamfights sort of like 2 fights ago and use the fact that their troll does come online a little bit earlier. Instead, they try for a greedier build. They don't bring the troll, but that means that when one of their cores gets dueled, they only have 1 low damage core available, and they just can't fight like this.
That is true. There has been basically 24 minutes of this troll farming. He hasn't been really showing up the fights. The 4 heroes have been doing all right, but that time is ticking. Batrider's power spike is absolutely gone at this point, and the troll really needs to be active. But with Sergeant Yasha, Battle Fury, that doesn't seem to be as impactful as this Radiance from Baosu is, especially given the fact that they have fatal bonds on the side of Crossfire.
Yeah, this Spectre strategy, this is the advantage that Spectre has always had in Dota. For going on 15 years now, it's the Spectre Radiance build. The troll has to choose whether to farm or fight, and even when things have been getting very desperate, they've doubled down on farming. The Spectre never has to choose. She is always farming with the Radiance. Soon she'll have a Mantis, so it will be even more true. Illusions pushing down those lanes and getting creep kills for her. And as soon as there's a fight, she just haunts. She gets all the gold from the team fights and full efficiency from farming creeps, and the troll cannot keep up even with this Battle Fury when his team are losing fights like this.
Yeah, that's true. You've got to kind of, you know, plug the boat, plug the leak, make sure there's no more water slipping out of the boat, because the gold's already swung on back. 2k gold lead to Crossfire so far. They recently had it, and maybe they're going to be losing another duel because Chestnut trying to put some water down, de-water a little bit of vision yourself. You're going to lose your life for it, and I don't think putting any more damage on the Xavier is the answer to any of the goals of FF1v2, because they just want to kill Xavier. They don't want to give him anything that helps them.
No, but unfortunately, they've already helped. Xavier has helped himself to quite a lot in this game. This Blink Dagger pickup has been even more devastating than I would have thought it could have been. And Crossfire, really, after a moment of being tested in the early game, they've kind of hit their stride perfectly with this lineup. They have really judged these core picks well. Oh my goodness, this Xavier Legion Commander has to be banned game 2. They are not handling this hero at all.
Oh no, 3-11, but whenever he sees a hero from FY, he just gets him, finds him, he kills him, and adds to his dual damage. I mean, didn't get dual damage off that, didn't really cost him, but it is going to cost FY2 a tower and even more control of the map. Maybe you have the lane being pushed in bottom, but your troll, he's trying to farm in the top jungle, but every single person on Crossfire, they're marching up your base. They have the Aegis, they have Bowser level 18 who's got the Manta picked up, and now your tower is melting, and your defense isn't amazing. I mean, you have Stroke of Fate, but your creeps are still alive. Maybe you can steal a spell to him back, but you've already lost a tier 3 already, and your racks aren't looking too hot either. Tower's melting, barracks going down, melee just gonna get melted down at this point, and the range gonna be worked on pretty quick as well, because you can't keep them back. The DD, the armlet, oh man, it's too much damage for them to actually deal with here. And Bowser, he just keeps getting healed up by Toad, so more towers are gonna be traded. You can't be Megan That's the plus side here. You've still got a tier 1 tower, but you did force Wygod come back. F18, Kess, Chestnut, but not Masaway. He's still farming. He wants his BKB, but what can you do? You pop the Aegis. Wygod with a little bit of opportunity took it, but now what can you get out of this? Husker's being pulled back in. Bowser getting very low himself, but he manages off on the rock drop for safety. It's a mistake. Maybe you can manipulate it, but no. There's going to be moving on back, pop the BKB on the back rider, but the initiation isn't there. Troll Ward finally farmed the BKB, and now he's charging forward to go for Rivery. He's beating him down if he can. The Lancer's going to be pulling back in. At least a hero, but it's just Xavier, not the one you need. You need someone who's going to be able to save them out, but with Doc Tobes, he's going to be healing the Fatal Bonds, and you just pop them back on up. Troll is dead. Grimstroke is dead. Barrider gets exploded. 2-4 dead. The buybacks are coming, but your racks, it's going. And that was FFYV2's best defense. They farmed the BKBs exactly for this, and it didn't work out, and that is exactly why you call GG and Crossfire take game 1.
Wow, what a terrific victory from Crossfire, a real show of force, and this season continues to be full of surprises, GTH. FFYV2, even with Wygod back in the side, not as strong as they might have looked, at least in that game. They're going to have to go back and look at their draft. I think this was, take nothing away from the Crossfire players, they really played that to a T, but it is a draft advantage that they rode to victory there, I would say.
Yeah, exactly that. You saw it completely work out. And I mean, it had its moments. I mean, they adjusted to Nazca pretty well. They put the Batrider, it destroyed the lane, but then you didn't destroy Bowser. Bowser just farmed the entire time. Xavier, who was pressured quite a bit in the off lane, he just got his item and it was like, okay, yeah, it's my time right now. We're just going to work it. And then Crossfire did and just destroyed FF1v2's chances here.
Yeah, absolutely. And look at the Troll's farm. Look how ahead the Troll was of Baosu for almost the entire game. There's a huge gap in net worth there between the two. But how is that leveraged? Like, show me on the graph during that time where Troll was ahead when he fought. That's something that I think was probably the biggest thing they could have done in-game, right? You talk about power spikes on heroes. Power spikes apply to farming as well as to fighting. There's a small window there between the end of the laning phase and about 20 minutes where the combination of Troll's attack speed passive and his Battle Fury makes him a faster farmer than the pre-Radiance or just Radiant Spectre. And I think right at the end of that, you want to like stop farming and go with your team because Troll's real strength is one-on-one fighting. He could have killed that Spectre, but they weren't able to bring that about. Xavier's Legion Commander just kind of destroyed their team's ability to form up cohesively for a fight or a push, and the Spectre had ample space after that. I think it's just a difference when you force the Batrider into the mid lane and the Void Spirit in the off lane. When you compare that Void Spirit's impact to Xavier's, neither of them had a terrific laning phase. One of those heroes just buys a Blink Dagger and bounces back. The other one is useless.
And right now, we're going to be finding out if they can bounce back because we do have a game 2 coming up between Crossfire and FFY2. It's looking pretty big because FFY2 always brings it big, but we're going to be finding out after this short break. And we're back after game 1. I'm feeling like Crossfire, they're bringing it this week. They may have made a few missteps last week, I believe, but this week it's all play right now. They took FFYV2 to task and they took out game 1 convincingly. It was amazing performance, but we're coming to game 2 here. So FFYV2, they have a chance to come back here. So if you are them, they've got the full strength of this squad. Wygod is back in the situation here. They are flexible in himself, which we keep saying here, but it didn't exactly go to task. What's the main thing they need to fix up going into game 2?
I think their draft kind of got scattered a little bit, and it's something that we saw get them shook against AGN as well. That's where it started coming undone. There was also some really terrific play coming out as a team from Crossfire. Their supports in particular, I want to shout out. That was one of the better Warlock games I've seen in quite a while, and really good Qwop play as well. So Andros definitely understands the idea of this like farming support, and in those late game team fights was actually quite a potent force, part of why FFY just couldn't handle what was going on. So one thing I would do is maybe, like I mentioned the questionable Warlock pick in the first phase, but double picking those supports early on, even against the Spectre, proved out to be a little too revealing and a little too great. Like you can't really bluff that either of those are like your mid laner. No one's playing mid Rubick in 2020. So when they picked the Batrider, they then actually it was Crossfire who got sort of too much information and were able to really exploit that. They ended up scouting the last pick and they forced a Void Spirit into the offlane role, even though, you know, that was clearly intended to be a big part of the damage potential in the mid game for FFYV2.
And they did have a fantastic mid game. Like, we have to put credit where credit's due. The Batrider controlled the early game, shut down Rivalry as hard as he can, made as many rotations as he could, but then it was just diminishing returns. The Batrider just peaked out, but then again, the Spectre didn't, Rivalry didn't, and Xavier, when he got his items, he took the game in his own hands and just carried his team forward.
I think the couple of things that were really impactful. I mean, I don't know if they could have done anything to secure God's lane a bit more, but if you were going to have Massaway farm as hard as he did and not come to fights at all, then you needed to either adapt how you laned around this Void Spirit to make sure that he got items, or you needed to change the build on the Batrider. Those early Brutes of Travel, I mean, it is a very staple item, and it means that you can like get your ultimate off and Firefly on heroes effectively in fights. In a way, it's a damage item, but I think they should have gone for some sort of utility build or something else, because in the end, it didn't add anything to the lineup when the hero would die, and it was very vulnerable being killed by, just the Spectre running it down or being dueled. And we saw that happen in the top lane, particularly. That time when both Void and Batrider died pretty much for no reason outside the Roche pit was very costly.
Oh yeah, it really did cost them. It's not game one here, because we're in game two. It's a new situation. It's new bans, but actually F1v2, they're going back for the old one. It kind of puzzled me the first time, but Visage, again, coming off of game one, can you afford to just ban Visage? I guess against Crossfire specifically, but still, it seemed like that wasn't the biggest part of their win victory. Maybe Tobes' Warlock would have been better a ban, or the Queen of Pain.
Team pick.
I think if you were going to ban one hero from last game, I would have banned the Legion Commander. I think that's the hero that it creates such tempo, in addition to having that very powerful press the attack ability. And as we saw, Xavier is such an amazing playmaker for this Crossfire team, no matter what position he's in. I know that we harp on him a lot. All the rest of the team played terrifically that game as well. It was a real effort. But that's a hero that you can kind of attack. Legion Commander has been a frequent ban in the last couple of years of Dota 2 whenever she's in the meta, because there's no other hero that really offers the same combination of laning prowess, low cooldown initiation, and carry potential that she does. It's just this really complex multi-threat hero. FF5v2, though, committing to a much less greedy support pick, the Winter Wyvern.
A hero that we haven't been seeing too much of in the league, but it's very good against, heroes that want to initiate. Say heroes that run at you with an insult. If you just Winter's Curse them down, they can't do anything about it. The counter initiation from this hero is unreal.
5 seconds.
Yeah, I think it's also a bit of a preemptive counterpick to the hero that we've seen most often paired with Grimstroke since the patch, which is the Weaver core. Winter Wyvern, obviously, with the Cold Embrace, can stop Weaver from putting damage into a hero with the auto attacks, and the ultimate is a really powerful disable. Even her nuke is a very strong hit of burst damage in the early game, which Weaver does not have a lot of health to deal with and can't just run away from. So this is a good idea to just sort of deal with what you would presume Crossfire are trying to lane alongside the Grim.
Oh man, we're getting some variability here. Earth Spirit coming out. Right, that's probably, I think it's a debut of this season. This is the first Earth Spirit pick that at least I can remember. And man, it's looking like pretty good, because Wind Ranger, Grimstroke, they're very low HP heroes. And if you get on top of them with the control and the size of the Earth Spirit, it's looking like a pretty nice game for the man himself.
Yeah, part of me wonders, it depends how much of that lane swap where Wygod, took the off-lane role was planned last game, and how much was sort of a last-minute reaction to the draft. But if it is the kind of game where you don't necessarily want him mid, this could be a mid-Earth Spirit. It's a hero I've seen a few different times, and if Crossfire sort of pick into it by grabbing a few more squishy, sort of magic damage vulnerable heroes. I mean, okay, we did just see the Batrider mid fail, which is kind of a similar tempo hero, but I do think the Earth Spirit is a bit less all-in. And its magic damage output in the mid game is stunning in like an AoE level.
Yeah, that is true. The man brings a whole bunch of damage and a whole bunch of control and silence, which is very invaluable. And they're actually banning heroes that are pretty good against the Earth Spirit if they can just get away from him. So Ricky just can be banned out. The man has tricks of the trains to dodge a whole bunch of what Earth Spirit can pull down. Very evasive against the Winter Wyvern, and I guess can silence up the Winter Wyvern as well. So they are putting some emphasis on this support combination here from FF5v2.
Radiant team back.
Yeah, I do want to say that even though I advertise the possibility of a mid-Earth Spirit, it's probably like 80% to be a support. I mean, FFYV2 did just get punished heavily for showing 2 supports in the first phase last game, but this duo is a lot more solid. The Earth Spirit has roaming potential, which they lacked last game. They picked 2 very level-dependent supports, which basically left their mid lane Batrider to do all the rotating and no real potential to get on the towers early with the whole team. And the Wyvern is a great defensive hero, so they can really do whatever they want with this pair.
Fair enough, and right now they're banning your favorite. Xavier is not going to be playing Legion Commander. He's gone. No saves, no duels. It's out of here.
Definitely did not want that sticking around in the pool. Obviously, the Wyvern's Cold Embrace is not so great if all you do is set your target up to get dueled as soon as it ends. And, you know, they have some counters, but you'd rather just not deal with the hero because you won't always get an ideal situation to fire off something like the Winter's Curse and cancel a duel. Very often we see Xavier just selecting targets that are on the edges of fights or alone, getting free kills for it. May as well make him have to do it from a different hero.
5 seconds remaining.
Fair enough, always a good plan here, but the third pick is here from FF1v2. You've got an Earth Spirit who generally isn't the strongest in the laning stage, so you probably need to pick a pretty strong solo offlane here just for the chances when Earth Spirit isn't in your lane.
Radiant team pick.
Yeah, exactly. And it all depends what matchups you think. Okay, they're going to go for the Centaur. That is a pretty rock-solid laner. Their heroes are looking decidedly mid-game centric, and I can't help but notice they did ban out 2 sort of healing cores away from Crossfire. So either they're assuming that this is the support duo, or they're just really tunnel vision on preventing Crossfire from getting that extra sustainability.
And not to mention high HP heroes hate the Reaper of Necropho, so just take it away. Keeps Centaur a little bit, safer in these games. And if he does try to stampede away, he can't be held back by the Reaper. So there are good responses here. But in response for Crossfire, they're just going back for the Weaver Grimstroke combination. They're not scared about much. They're just going to chase you down. And I guess if Centaur is solo in the lane eventually, or if you match up against a Winter Wyvern, these guys are still pretty dead.
Radiant team pick.
That's really interesting that they would pick the Weaver. I mean, like, FF5v2 basically knew the Weaver was coming as soon as the Grimstroke was picked. I'm surprised Crossfire didn't just go Grimstroke Weaver with their first 2. It's such a predictable combo at this point for the patch. And between the Wyvern being in the safe lane, presumably alongside the Spectre, and the War Runner Earth Spirit combo in the off lane, this Weaver has, like, no good lane choices. I wonder if they're planning to somehow switch it into the mid. Oh!
Okay. Hello.
I mean, this is their combo. Remember the last time?
Yeah, I was about to say, we had a Weaver and an Alchemist, and then they just farmed it out, and Elk destroyed the game. But we're in a little bit of a different situation here. We're up against a Spec and a Centaur War Runner. These heroes are much more aggressive, as we saw in Game 1. Can Alchemist still have the space that he was expecting when I believe it was AGN that pulled him out?
Well, what's notable about the last time we saw this combo, Crossfire used it to take a game off of Oracle, which remains Oracle's only game loss for the entire season. But that was not like the ideal game that went according to plan. Balsu's Weaver had a decent time, but did not get a lot of farm. And so the idea of like, it also did not build sort of the tertiary core Weaver build that we sometimes see where you go sort of stat items in a very early Aghanim Interceptor and enable the Alchemist. And the Alchemist on Reverie actually got shut down very hard. His stacks were taken. He was punished from the mid lane position. And so they actually kind of had to fall back and just play improvised Dota for like 60 minutes until they finally got all their items. And yeah, eventually what we saw there is that this Weaver Alchemist combo never falls off. Once you have that 12-second any target time lapse, your ability to take team fights is so powerful that even this Spectre may actually not be enough when you consider the rest of the team right now looks quite utility focused. It is going to be a one-man show in the late game unless this last pick from FF5v2 is another strong scaling hero. So while they do have good lanes against the Weaver and they have the potential with this Spirit Roam to hurt the Alchemist farm, I worry for them a little bit.
Well, I mean, if you are for 1v2 and you are worrying about them, what picks this up here? I mean, they can go, burst to make up for the fact that they don't exactly have much burst on their side to just pop these heroes. You can have laning matchups against the Alchemist to destroy him in lane, but then again, that didn't pay off against Crossfire previously. They just, turtled up and farmed with the Alchemist. What's the solution?
Mars mid.
Okay,
I actually doubt that will be the pick. We haven't seen them pick Mars. No one has put Mars mid in this entire season. Blah, blah, blah. But I'll explain my reasoning, right? Look at Crossfire's heroes.
Okay.
Weaver, Windranger, Grimstroke. 3 very vulnerable, squishy heroes. They're movement dependent to survive. Your Centaur, okay, you've got Stampede to initiate and Stomp, but these heroes can actually kind of dodge your Stomp. It is a slow cast for a stun. It's not immediate. And, I mean, running in with Stampede, if you don't have a Blink Dagger, is even slower. It's mostly a disengaging skill. If you have Arena, you trap everyone together. You can land your Earth Spirit spells or your Wyvern spells. The Haunt does maximum damage. The Centaur can hit a multi-man stun. It's great for catching Alchemist in the jungle. And Mars is a devastatingly powerful laning hero against melee cores. So if you assume this is an Alchemist mid, which it almost certainly is, that hero is going to wreak havoc.
Oh, yeah. Well, maybe they will pick it up here, but we have to wait for...
Oh, my other mention for that would have been the mid Timbersaw for similar reasons. Just this incredibly tanky mid hero that can run their heroes down. So they banned the probably better pick from Crossfire. Good drafting.
Mars can work out just fine too, but I mean, we are looking for Crossfire's pick here. They're just trying to go for all their reserve time, and I guess they need the offlaner here, assuming that we're going back in Crossfire's nature of just putting Baosu on this Weaver.
Yeah, or the Windranger could be the offlaner, and you could pick another support. It depends. But you do need a tanky frontline hero, and then you go with the Mars themselves. They're denying the pick, and it's not quite as good for them. But I mean, Arena can be a defensive ability, right? Like it's still a very powerful space control tool, and Mars is just such a solid laner. It's going to force resources to be committed constantly to defending the Spectre to ensure that Massive Way presumably gets the farm that he needs. And wow.
The Shadow Fiend finale. What are you thinking here? Wygod back in the MiG on a big flashy hero just to show off his skills here. Isn't enough to get FFYV2 this game?
I haven't seen Wygod play Shadow Fiend, but I have a hunch that he's a dab hand at the heroes. So that gives them the mid-game punch and the secondary core that they need to both pressure this referee Alchemist very hard in the mid-game and to close things out in the late game against the potential Alchemist Weaver combo. I think FFYV2 have the edge.
Okay, but that is a real positive way to start off, because after game 1, they're feeling probably a little bit negative here, but this is pretty flashy from them. This isn't scared. This is going for your favorite heroes right now, because Shadow Fiend, you don't pick that hero when you're scared. You pick that hero when you want to dominate, you want to flash from, you want to take away the stacks from this Alchemist, and we're just looking to keep this pressure on Rivery, because this man, when he gets that farm, he can carry to end these games.
I don't think he's going to get that farm, at least not very quickly, right? Like, Crossfire, they're the ones this time who revealed 2 very kind of greedy level-dependent supports in the early game. Yes, Windranger can kind of just rotate, have, like, level 2 Shackle and level 2 Power Shot and kind of play a game. But, you know, then you don't have any points in Windrun, or your Shackle Shot is low duration, or your Power Shot basically doesn't exist. Like, this is a really greedy support hero in most situations. And by revealing both of those, they give the option to FFYV2 that they had in game 1 of just exploiting this mid pick. This Alchemist isn't going to be able to farm actively in the lane against the Shadow Fiend, and when he runs away to try and jungle, the Shadow Fiend can just follow along with the Earth Spirit and either nuke down those stacks instantly as soon as the Alchemist isn't there with the races, or just kill him.
Okay, that is looking scary for the Elk, so a little bit of safety is probably going to be needed from Crossfire, maybe a little bit more attention on Rivery, but then Baosu's known for that. The man likes to play a little bit of space game when he plays the Weaver, runs in the back of your tier 2s, just pops out of nowhere, taking your wave away and forcing everybody to rotate to him. So Crossfire, they kind of know how to play around this Alchemist, so hopefully it can work out in game 2 here. But while we do have a little bit of downtime, we'd like to thank one of our sponsors here for LPL for this season. In fact, it's the New Zealand Defence Force, who were kind enough to sponsor this season of the LPL, and these guys, they're recruiting for all roles in the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force. And if you guys are looking for more information on it, just visit defencecareers.mil.nz for all the information needs that you need, and we thank them for sponsoring this season.
Yeah, thanks to all our terrific sponsors here at the LPL Pro League Season 2. As we see the heroes move out to the lanes, I'm looking at this Windrunner support, and I don't want to get way too deep onto anything, because we haven't even seen it get started yet, but if Crossfire do go down, I can't help myself but think that this Windrunner might be the reason for it overall. This is just a weird support pick. What does it bring to the table that makes you want to draft it so early on?
He can hit you, then if you try to hit him, you don't do any damage, I guess.
I mean, it wasn't really a reaction to anything. It's not like it specifically counters. I suppose you picked up easy shackles on the Cold Embrace, but I don't know. It feels like an attempt at a flex pick that did not full FFY at all. They did not respect the idea of Windrunner offlane or Windrunner mid. in any way with their draft.
2 runes apiece. In fact, Xavier getting so low to try and get to his, but Massaway gets it anyway, and the first blood goes back to FFYV2, and now Andros on the Windrunner couldn't do a thing to save him, but Chestnut feeling maybe a little bit of pressure here as Bowser just chips away at the back by getting to the safety of a tier 2 tower. There will not be any kills in return. So FFY are on the board, Crossfire trying to look on the board, but at least they got a couple runes out of it.
Yeah, the trademark power of Centaur obviously is an offlane. His sheer tankiness allowing him to survive though, although notably, skilled hoof stomp at level 1, that is not the typical build that you see out of an offlane Centaur, right? Like, ever since the changes to return to give it an active, that's been the more popular pick, and I would have even taken, that over the hoof stomp.
Andros, run. What level? No, he leveled power shot, so he has no evasion to save his life here. And the tri-lane from FFYV2, it is getting fruitful, and it's securing the farm for the Spectre. Xavier can't really get in for any safe farm so far, and it doesn't seem like Andros is going to make a difference in this lane.
Yeah, already this is a vast difference in the way these support picks are operating. This is, of course, not really a truly committed tri-lane. The Earth Spirit is expected to roam around the map as the laning phase progresses, so you can't overcommit. You can't, like, bring Tobes up here, for instance. You've just got to, stick to their 2-1-2 setup if you're Crossfire. But the pressure from the Earth Spirit is going to make it really hard to pull supports back out of the lane to stack, and the Windrunner support just, does not offer enough at this point to help Xavier compete against really a very powerful lane from FFY.
What a bit of a miss. Guess missed that roll, get on back, but Massway is having a great time here, 6-1, but Bowsu in the bottom lane, great time too. You've got the solo matchup here. Bowsu's 7-7 against the Centaur, who really can't even get close to his wave at all. I mean, he's pushing it in, but every single time he does, Bowsu is just chipping on in the back. He got the stroke to slow him down even further, and they're just punishing the Centaur so hard.
He has no points in return. If he had return, I feel like this would be completely different. Like, Weaver does not do a lot of damage to this Centaur per auto attack. Neither does Grimstroke, really. If you were taking, pings of damage every time and charging up the Centaur's ability to trade with you, I mean, okay, yes, the stun lets you hit the Weaver here, gets the value stun where the whole creep wave gets an auto attack off and does a bit of damage to Bowsu, but that's not really, a good return. And now you've spent all your mana, so you do have both skills, but you don't have them available because of, skilling your hoof stomp and using it first. A little bit of a confusing build.
A little bit, but then in middle lane, it isn't too confusing at all. Alchemist is looking for farm, Shadow Fiend is looking for farm, 8-1 and 13-2, but I guess that's how this matchup kind of works out, because neither of these heroes exactly cares about the mid lane. They're just looking at the jungle, so whenever the creep wave pushes into one tower, they're just going to run into the jungle, and then the other hero pushes back, and they run into theirs.
Yeah, Shadow Fiend probably has the edge in almost all fighting situations, just very much easier for him to pick and choose, when to deal damages. Massaway coming under a threat.
Okay, big fans. I don't know if he kills, the arrow's coming, but they need some more damage to one charge to save, but then they've got F18. Actually, he's swapped into the position 5 role here, because Wygott, they're just pressuring on River as well. The roll's going to be a little bit off the mark here, but more role swapping on the side of FFYV2, because I believe Chestnut, he's playing the Sentinel now again, so all this role swapping in FFYV2.
Yeah, it's because Wygott is, probably very likely their Shadow Fiend player, and this even more hints that the last game probably had Wygott lined up as the mid player as well until they made that laning adjustment to try and improve things. So now that Wygott's, in a more comfortable lane position on a very, very classic mid hero, it's Chestnut back in the off lane, and that leaves the support role to fall to Boo one. But yeah, we're seeing the power of Mars, right? Even after giving up that first blood, the spam of God's from the laning phase and the constant threat of Spear is so oppressive.
Chestnut, the constant fear of Weaver and Grimstroke, as we've seen the combination as a classic for every single week of LPL. It's just hounding down to the center as he runs between the trees looking for the safety, but he just gives up his life anyway. More gold to actually Toes who gets the kill here, but more security in this safe lane for Crossfire.
Yeah, I wonder whether if you just tried to walk all the way back to your tower and just accepted the Inksaw stun, whether you maybe live as the Centaur there because you're just so tanky. But, I mean, between dying and walking back to base, maybe dying is even better here because you lose out on less XP. You're going to teleport back and only miss, a small amount of creeps. So that, we're trying to find silver linings here. This Centaur lane is not going how you hoped. You picked it because this is, your best option to line up solo against the Weaver. I can't really think of anything else they could have done. Maybe a Tide Hunter, but, maybe you just don't want to pick that hero. It's certainly not popular at the moment in the pro scene. So all the focus on Massaway here is going to have a lot of carrying to do, but this, whenever the Earth Spirit's moved out of the lane, things have gotten a lot slower here for FFYV2 in the top.
Yeah, I was about to say, Xavier, who did have all that commitment to keep him out of the lane at the start, he's now got 24 assets, more than the Spectre itself. Chestnut has 4 last hits to his name. And Inspector is just being constantly pressured as Xavier plays so aggressive in this lane, securing the runes up. And I guess Reverie is getting, what, 13 last hits in the mid lane as Shadow Fiend goes to town, 33-14. So the numbers are an FFYV2's advantage, but I guess the acceleration might be in Crossfire's advantage potentially. They're getting the pickoffs. Andros just comes in and gets a kill. Bowser's getting kills in the bottom lanes. Is that enough to make Crossfire feel safe with how this laning stage is going?
I don't think they're delighted, but at least it gives you something to look forward to now that your Alchemist is being hunted down in the jungle. His courier even at risk of getting lapped around on by the Earth Spirit. This is where the focus is for FFYV2. They are shutting down Reverie's game here. Will not even let him farm the jungle as the Earth Spirit rolls in.
He finds it, he gets it, and takes him down. Stroke Fate does nothing but mean he dies. And Reverie getting pressure on up, which means Wygon has an even better start to his laning stage. He's got so much gold in his side, but Bowser, he is keeping up with himself. At least Chestnut has an opportunity to come into this lane now because he knows that Tobes has left it. But right now, Bowser is soloing up, does streaks on back, forces Chestnut back, who doesn't have a self, so he's basically out of this lane here. And, I mean, your Alchemist can farm up. I don't think Crossfire has too many stacks to his name. It's not completely terrible here, but it seems like Wygon is just completely having a great game. He's able to just explode with the farm he's gotten, and I'll be worried that Shadow Fiend really... Okay, Jessel's dead. But Shadow Fiend really isn't feeling any pressure, and we know if Wygon gets farm in his hands, he will make it work.
Yeah, exactly. I think after game 1 where Wygod kind of got put in an uncomfortable position where he couldn't impact the game, they went back to the drawing board and said, look, we really want to enable, Wygod. That's how our team plays well. He's our main man. Let's give him a good matchup in the mid. And by picking the Alchemist, Crossfire left the door open. They maybe needed to wait and try and pick it last. Okay, then there's a chance to ban it out. But by picking it before the last pick, they've really exposed it now. And especially with Andros on this Wind Ranger, not really able to rotate. Like, the hero is kind of getting some levels and not completely failing, but it's going to be a comeback Alchemist game, not a dominant Alchemist game.
Spear to safety, but Xavier's so low. Artie Burns coming in. Spectre is haunted him in the back, but dude have to move it to chase him down. Come on, right clicks from Winter Wyvern. They should be able to put him in the ground, but he's hiding in the trees. Spectre's still running. He doesn't have the Spectre walk, but Referee's dying at the same time. Because guess who found him? Wygod found him farming in the jungle, and Andros tried to help him, but in the end, he just feeds him a double kill. They keep on feeding the Shadow Fiend more and more with Kess just running around annoying Reverie wherever he goes. It doesn't seem like FFYV2 are going to give this Alchemist any space to farm a single creep. They've got basically Crossfire's number at this point.
Yeah, FFYV2 making this Reverie Alchemist pick look very greedy into the Kess Earth Spirit. Earth Spirit maybe the greatest roaming hero in Dota 2, as we see Chestnut actually also, speaking of punished on the bottom lane. This is one of those lanes that just snowballs out of control. From that level 1 disadvantage that we saw the Centaur put up because of the skill build, now unfortunately whatever plan you had to try and go even in this lane has fallen away. Pretty much need to just retreat and farm the jungle now if you can, or maybe play very, very safely. But yeah, basically this Earth Spirit has been able to roam non-stop since the start of the game and is constantly in the jungle, scouting out the Alchemist's position, making him feel unsafe during farm, making sure there's no stacks. If there were stacks, I'm sure Shadow Fiend would come and kill them. And, anytime that there's not creeps in mid, the Shadow Fiend walks over and farms the big Ogre creep, the Alchemist.
Under attack.
And right now they're farming him again because guess who found him? Guess! Saw him hitting some creeps in the jungle, rolls right into him, tries to bring Wygon around, but they're just going to give him a couple creeps for his trouble because Andros, Tobes, they're just circling around him like a big defensive shield to keep their friends safe. But the gold is still, pretty even, but I was looking at the net worths here. Basically, the top 3 is still the Weaver, the Alchemist, and the Mars, and we're about to make the rotation. This is going there, but it's the Requiem, it's the roll, it's the fear, and it's the kill. Bowsu being put down. He wanted Wygod, but he gets nothing as they charge on forward and force Bowsu just to feed his good game away.
I didn't say what happened there, but did they get stunned by Earth Spirit on the ramp? I think there was a bit of a chunk there that Crossfire ran into, and the Weaver, you could tell, when he ran onto the Shadow Fiend, he expected backup. They ran out of damage, couldn't quite bring down Wygod, and gets the full Requiem off because there is no other spell to interrupt it. That's disastrous. Wygod was already ahead. Now he is dominating the game. Level 9 already, close to level...
Shackle landed, Bowsu for revenge, but guess who's here? Guess who's waiting? TP out, he doesn't make it! The arrow field goes through and finally kills the Shadow Fiend himself. 345 gold going straight to Andros. Crossfire get a little bit of revenge here, but it feels bittersweet.
I think it's worth it in hindsight. You'd obviously rather Bowser didn't die, but I appreciate that Crossfire showed that absolute desperation to kill the Shadow Fiend at this moment, because for one, the Shadow Fiend is a hero that will rapidly accelerate from this position, and once he gets one eye, he's going to probably go Drums BKB or Drums Shadowblade BKB. That BKB power timing right now was looking like it's just going to completely win the game. The other point is that the two supports on FF5E2 just, I think, hit level 5. Once those two ultimates are available, it becomes so much harder to commit blindly onto the Shadow Fiend like they just did. Can you imagine a Winter's Curse in that scenario? Absolutely game-breaking.
Absolutely game-breaking in itself. They don't even have enough saves to keep him alive. That's the way he's trying to get to the creeps in his lane, but every single time he goes up, Xavier's going to kick him down. So, I mean, Crossfire have two good situations kind of going here. Alchemist has had some time to recover, so he's getting the 5,000 net worth himself. He's working towards the Radiance. Things are actually happening on Crossfire right now, but it's only a 1k gold in their favor. Maybe Centaur's completely shut out between them, but the man still has Stampede. Kess is still having a fantastic game, constantly pressuring up. Things are still good for FF5E2. Are you comfortable with the state? Oh, don't worry about it, because right now they're going to force it back, and they go straight for Matsway and blow away the Spectre. Take it out. The combo is fierce.
My answer was going to be that they have to turn to Xavier again, just like last game. They need someone, one of these other cores, or preferably both of them, to start making big plays on the map and draw FF5E2 away from this Alchemist. He needs 5 minutes of space at the very least. He needs to build a farming item into probably another farming item. I think he just goes very greedy if you assume that Bowser's building the Aghanim Scepter again this game, and you don't need to worry about, Alchemist usually peaks at a relatively early point for a carry because he farms so fast, and you try and win the game then. They can go later with this Weaver synergy, so they just need him to farm. In the meantime, it's going to be up to Xavier to force kills with this sick Arena of Blood skill, and that was the perfect one. Getting the Spectre is huge value.
Oh yeah, it gives him a tower, it gives him some space. Basu is farming this top lane, keeping his gold up with, keep it actually up with the Mars as well. He's having a great game. Chestnut, he's farming up a Vanguard, so he's looking to keep the auras himself, not valuing the straight up Blink Dagger. But I'm actually interested by Kess's build here. I believe, yeah, he's got a Veil to amp up his magic damage, not the traditional Earth Spirit build.
They have a ton of magic damage on the side of FF5E2 though. If you look, every hero puts out significant magic damage if you presume a Spectre Radiance. Shadow Fiend, of course, a tremendous magic damage dealer. Centaur does quite large magic damage. Return is magic, so is Stampede, so is Hoof Stomp Double Edge, one of the largest non-ultimate nukes in the game. And even Wyvern's Splinter Blast does very respectable damage and percentage health on her Q. So it's a good utility item. I wonder whether they'll be punished for not picking up, say, a Force Staff when your main fighting core at the moment is something that's as position dependent and vulnerable as a Shadow Fiend, but maybe they just figured against the Arena of Blood that item is not reliable.
Oh, you can't just push yourself into the wall there, and it's kind of screw your own game.
That's not actually a good interaction for you.
No, never. But it seems like they're having some pretty good interactions there for 1v2 because they're just isolating the Alchemist farm. Again, they're taking the cancel away. It's just an Earth Spirit literally farming your creeps. Great, but then Rivery's answer is, I don't want those creeps anyway. I'm going to go into your jungle and take away yours, keeping it even up. Andros is trying to farm and pull these creeps to Rivery and just try and, kick-start his farm, boost it as fast as you possibly can and get that Radiance here as early as possible.
Yeah, it's going to be a late timing by about 2 or 3 minutes on Reverie, but that's not a disaster. Alchemist accelerates insanely fast once he has this item, and every item comes faster than the last. And this is an awkward situation for FF5E2 because it's hard for them to know how to take the fight. Masterway obviously is not going to be positioning aggressively, and this Shadow Fiend, you would think he'd be able to fight, but right now I think the Mars is actually quite terrifying for the SF. That Arena of Blood it sort of reminds me of AA's Ice Blast in that, when you commit it onto a gank, it will cause the death of basically any hero without a BKB. They just die. The Spear Arena combo does so much damage with any follow-up at all, you're going to kill that Shadow Fiend from full health. And the only thing that can really save it is Winter's Curse. So they have to play tightly on their Shadow Fiend in a defensive posture at the moment, which is not where you want to be.
Well, speaking of saving, though, we'll take an opportunity while we've got a little bit of downtime here to save our favorite games, because one of our sponsors this season, WD Black, makes fantastic hard drives that you can save every single one of your games and never make a choice. You never have to delete a single thing because you've got WD Black hard drives, and we've got their sponsorship, and we thank you for sponsoring this season of LPL.
Middle tower is under
FF5E2 don't like this break in the action. They don't like it. They go for a kill.
They don't want to see his sponsors, they want kills, they get blood, and Andros is gone. Wow, he's got no HP and just seems to be feeding. That's an opportunity because, hey, somebody's got to double damage. Why God, with his farm, actually, I was about to say, His BKB timing's a little bit slow. He did go back for the drums. Do you like the valued pickup, or would you prefer he just goes BKB, gets this game over and done with, doesn't have to deal with the Alchemist situation that is coming?
I think they need to do more damage than he would do if he just rushed a straight BKB, so he needed some sort of stat items, and from the fact that the Spectre also has the drums, you can see that clearly FFYV2 are prioritizing this on the patch. Bowser playing very, very bravely, and he's farming these neutral creeps. This is the most Bowser move I've ever seen. He's still going in.
He's not even done. They're taking the fight, but the Requiem's there, and it forces the Alchemist back. He's moving away, but they're running the Stampede to get away. They've got the curse, I believe. Yep, comes out. Alchemist pulled on back, and everybody back to safety. Not a single kill. The arrow doesn't hit a single thing. And FFYV2 get out without losing a single bit of gold on their side. So Crossfire spill a whole bunch, but I guess they don't lose any heroes themselves. The greed from Bowser doesn't cost them, and it gives them the opportunity to go mid. Maybe you get the Winter Wyvern, but you're definitely going to get the mid tower, which is valuable map control to take away from FFYV2 here.
Yeah, that was a decided bait from Bowser, and FFY knew it. They didn't want to commit heavily onto the Weaver there, but I think that is very telling that the way that fight went. Those were all of the powerful FFYV2 ultimates used defensively. I'm not sure whether it was just that they don't really have the Spectre Haunt online yet, but they do not want to fight right now under any circumstances, and they're willing to throw away all of their potential fighting strength to not have to fight.
Oh yeah, just hit Stampede, get on out of there. They did surprisingly go into jungle, so it seems like their idea is not to farm, but to isolate. Keep Alchemist away from hitting creeps, and just make sure Massaway is the only one getting the safe and the space to do so, because his Radiance is coming too, and it seems to be matching up a little bit with the Alchemist. I mean, give it a couple more minutes, he's going to have it as well, and a Spectre with a Radiance matches with an Alchemist with a Radiance, and you have your team with an XP advantage in itself. Is feeling pretty good for FFYV2.
I don't know if I 100% agree. The Alchemist has his Radiance and had for about 30 seconds. Massaway's not going to have his Radiance for like at least 2 minutes. And Alchemist with the Radiance not only farms faster than Spectre, but fights better. Spectre, oh, here's the arena. Instant
okay,
death.
you proved me wrong. With one,
also dead. And you can see here it is, the Vlad's on Mars. The Vlad's on Mars is so disgustingly powerful. You lifesteal off every single unit you hit with your God Tribute, and it criticals with the damage, and you're buffing your team up with these auras. This is Mars's, sort of Mars's power spike. Obviously, you'd love a Blink Dagger, but yeah, this hero is just so strong in the early mid game. So Reverie right now, yes, farming, obviously with the Grievel's Greed because wasn't needed at that fight, but could fight with the ultimate, whereas the Spectre needs at least one more item. If you run in with the Radiance right now into this team, you're going to get a raid and die immediately.
Fair enough. So a little bit of hesitation needed for FF1v2 here. I mean, 5k goal lead isn't too massive since you look at the Alchemist and then you look at Wygon, who's still having a pretty strong game himself. The VKB should have arrived on the Shadow Fiend here, and Bowser, interesting enough, he went Diffusal Blade this game, and usually Diffusal Blade just means you want to fight yourself. So they're looking like their 4-man fighting squad. Do you bring the Alchemist at this point, or are you going to be waiting for that BKB himself, which he's farming right now?
I think they feel brave enough that they're going to bring the Alchemist. The Alchemist is still quite hard to kill as long as he presses his ultimate first. Like, especially if the Spectre's not at the fight to begin with. FFYV2 do lack a little bit of burst damage. If his ultimate's running, he's going to be able to like live through the silences and disables from FFY. And it's just like one more hero. You can't target all of them at once. So they're going to have this like multi-core threat going on. Whereas FFYV2 really only have 2 damage dealing heroes, and one of them doesn't want to fight yet.
That's true, but Chestnut's going to be falsified as they get the shackle, but the curse comes back, pulls everybody in. Xavier gets the arena, but the Requiem on top blows away Bowser, and now he's got to run. We got a DD, but the spear pulls him back, but you can't pull back the BKB on the Shadow Fiend, who's chasing you down. FFYV2 taking a fantastic fight as they make a triple. Angel's going to get the arrow, but now Referee's trying. He's going to get himself the Earth Spirit, but he needs to run himself. But they've got some damage in Savon. Backside Chestnut is trying to run, trying to get a little bit closer. We get to somebody else have a Blink Dagger, so he can't get close enough yet. Actually, he does. Pops a little bit forward, tries to stun him up, but Winter Wyvern's going to be careful as Andros goes for the kill, but a shackle lands on him, and Bowser with the buyback comes on in to maybe get himself a double. The Shadow Fiend gone, Chestnut gone, Reverie with the BKB that he finally popped, turns it back around the other way, gets 4 kills himself. It forced a buyback out of Bowser, but what a buyback. It turned it in the Crossfire's favor, and now they can get Roshan completely safe out of it.
I think Weaver, we know Bowser for playing Ember Spirit and even Suck, but I think Weaver might be the perfect Bowser hero. He's always been this very aggressive, very kind of scrappy core player. You know, not afraid to die or buy back or trade woes in lane, and you know, even if it costs him a bit of farm, if he thinks it advantages the team, which I appreciate. And Weaver is a hero who rewards that hugely. You don't really need a ton of items. It fights great in the early game, and in making space for Reveries Alchemist, I think they found a really powerful combination for their playstyle. You see there, the Winter's Curse, I admit, maybe I went a little bit over calling it a bad curse. It was a conservative curse, a low-value curse, and they used it to set up the Requiem more than anything. It looked...
Well, he's on...
Okay.
It was just it looks like he's about to die there, but no, we're good. We might have a curse for this fight, but it doesn't seem like we're going to have some towers because Basu's hitting it. Shadow Fiend isn't going to be able to defend it. Yeah, okay. We're not going to be committing fully for the tower here, but Crossfire have some good control back in this game. The gold lead is actually looking substantial at this point. Basu just completely dodging the nice little roll. Does get silence kick is pretty good between them, but it's going to be the net back on there. It's on the BKB. Pops are going to be turning to take the fight and trying to kill Basu straight away, but I believe he has the Aegis, but he just time-lapsed off all of the damage. The curse defensively to split the fight to get on back. Xavier is running. The Soulbind is chaining them both together, and Xavier finally arrives. Did have a BKB on the Shadow Fiend. Yeah, he can walk out, but Chestnut cannot. He just gets blown away by the wall, and the Sun on the Winter Wyvern, it's gonna get themselves a double kill. All right, Golden Brace. You can't physical damage through it. You set it through in the draft. It saves his life, but still, that was looking really sloppy from FFYV2 there.
It's not completely done, but I am very, very, very scared for FFYV2. This Alchemist Aegis is huge. The thing about Alchemist, he progresses items so quickly that you look at him right now and you go, okay, that might not be quite enough to end the game. He's probably going to pick up another item in the middle of this push. And at that point, like, this Spectre only has Drum's Radiance, you know, has a better neutral item than the Alch, but it's not really going to matter, especially if they keep giving up random deaths on their teamfight supports, and using this Winter's Curse can't be spent like that. They got one core kill with it before on Valsu. It would have kind of worked out well if they got the kill and had the Weaver die back, because that would have stalled out the Crossfire push for basically the entire Aegis timing. But the stuns all come out, and I have to believe that Winter's Curse came off cooldown like exactly as Boo 1 used it, and it was one of those buttons that you just can't press when you need to, and then 1 second too late the spell comes back and you use it half out of frustration. Just like, yeah, god damn it. I hope the Weaver's in this, but he wasn't. And then the Winter's Curse is wasted again. It was close. It was close. It wasn't like a terrible, terrible play, but man, how unfortunate for FFY that it was on cooldown and they weren't able to get that kill, because after that time lapse goes off, the fight's kind of lost and they give up even more resources. The 10-second BKB on the Shadow Fiend, I think that was, or the 9-second gone now.
9 second,
and yeah. So Wygod already losing charges on this BKB at a rapid pace, not really scaling that hard yet into damage dealing. He can become a threat to the Alchemist in the late game because the raw physical damage and minus armor coming out, you know, can punch through the regen-based defense of the Alch, but I feel like he's going to get outscaled pretty hard.
It seems like the scaling is going pretty hard right now because it was just 9k gold lead before, now it's 14k gold lead, and I hate to see what those items entail, but it's going to entail taking the tower down here as Bouncy and Xavier work together to push it off. They got 4 heroes and actually everybody isolating around for it, so Crossfire, they're looking like they want to take this game out. They've still got the Aegis on the side, they've still got the towers ready to take. Winter Wyvern's looking for a nice little curse. We want Kess in a pretty good situation to set on up, but they're going to find Wygod going and force Kess to rolling in a little bit defensively here, but everyone's fine. Jess up on Xavier back, they're going to be trying to pull him up, but the curse keeps the Alchemist back for now, but the arena splits them up between them. Chestnut is chained on in, the BKB being used defensively to get on back. Now Massaway, who haunted in, has to run on back. Golden Brace is going to save, but it just sets it up for the Arrow of Andros, and he is gone down. 50 seconds for the buyback if he wants to use it. Same with Chestnut, but they need something more, because Spectre is just getting melted down by Xavier's Gold Rebuke, and Dowsu just runs through him to clean him up again with the Focus Fire coming out. Do they even get Xavier out of it? Does he have any mana to kick? No, he does not, and feeds his life away too. The team wipe. Crossfire completely cut down FFYV2. They've taken open the opportunity to take these towers, maybe even go high ground and take complete control of the game away. In fact, I'm worried that they may have just lost the game at this point. How do you stop the power of Crossfire?
That was, I mean, losing that second fight is really bad for your long-term chances, and I want to give a bit of credit to FFYV2. That fight was actually incredibly close. Crossfire, you could even see it in the hesitation from Crossfire. When they ran out the high ground, when they speared that Spectre, there was a moment where they did not commit because they realized, like, this actually could go so badly. Multiple heroes dropping extremely low. Obviously, Spectre's the kind of hero with that dispersal that you sometimes overcommit onto, but they just have the burst damage to bring her down, and that is a huge, huge thing.
beautiful BKB, but beautiful BKB, oh my god. But he's got no HP. He's got to get back to his base, get back to regen, but the BKB is going to be down, and same with WinterWife, same with the entire team of FFYV2. The communication there going in, just getting caught on out, is not looking good, and they're just getting melted in their fountain. I'm worried that we just see the G's being dropped at this point, because it is looking rough. They're just getting the arenas, and the kills just keep on coming.
Yeah, Reverie dying's a big deal. He has dieback, but Wyvern getting killed there, that was the commitment they got. They killed her before she used the curse. So their curse has been used 3 times in a row to either just stun the Alchemist, or in the case of killing Bounce to a hero who had buyback to get in the fight. And
Arena, Requiem, is it enough? It doesn't seem like it's gonna be much, and oh man, it is not looking good for FF1v2 here. Crossfire just outclassing them in every single situation. At 71 seconds away from the Shadow Fiend here. Nobody's going to be spawning, and maybe there's no fighting, but no, GG is going to be called. It's just taken on out, and oh man, Crossfire bring it massively.
Yeah, Crossfire, they're a scrappy team, and they know when to force it. It wasn't pretty at the end there. You know, they sacrificed their Alchemist, but they know that they've got 3 powerful cores, and they're able to take the game even after Reverie dies. As long as that Wyvern's on the sidelines, the Weaver is completely safe. And without FFY ever able to fully engage 5 heroes at once, they get picked apart by the low cooldown, high damage cores of Crossfire. A really impressive series from them.
Oh, yeah, coming back off a little bit of a misplay. I believe it was last week, if I'm not mistaken. I might be on that, but it doesn't seem to have affected them. They've come back even stronger this week and dismantled FFYV2, who are now back at full strength, but it didn't seem like that when they were going up against Crossfire's power here.
Yeah, it seems like they really struggled to set up lanes that were favorable to them, and moreover to transition from those lanes into the mid game. I really like the individual play was much more solid, and the draft was much more solid from them this time. We saw the effect that Earth Spirit plus Shadow Fiend combo had on Reverie's Alchemist. But the thing about shutting down Alchemist, it always feels so fraught. As soon as you let the pressure off for a second, that Grievel's greed kicks in. The Alchemist explosively farms back up, and the fact that you had a Spectre, right, like this super slow-paced carry hero, if they'd had, say, a Battle Fury Troll or a hero that even comes online earlier than that and pushes towers, maybe you could have punished Reverie's slow start. But because they're waiting on the Spectre Radiance, they actually give the Alchemist time to get back in the game. It's just too much to keep him down for that long.
Yeah, it was a whole bunch of pressure they tried to put on him, but it didn't really pay off in the end. And it seemed like even Bouncer, who knows his job in these situations, when they put Reverie on these big, just game-changing heroes, they just allow Bouncer to do what he does best. Run around, get into fights, buy back whenever he wants, rejoin fights, time-lapse every single where he wants to go. This Weaver hero is crazy for Bouncer.
Yeah, I have immense respect for Bowser in these Weaver games. It's a very complicated position for him to play. Reverie is just like, I just hit creeps. Whereas Bowser has to play this really complicated role. He's being flexible between, he has to farm and carry, he has to build his own items, and he has to defend Reverie. But instead, you know, he's able to thread the needle and kind of be all things to his team when they need to. And that's what got them the victory there.
That's right, a 2-0 victory against FFYV2. An amazing series from Crossfire, but the action is not going to stop. But we're going to take a quick, short break before we continue here. Don't go anywhere, folks. It's going to keep on going here in LPL. We'll see you in a bit. And we are back. Crossfire brought it back through their massive series here. FF1v2 going down 2-0 to them, just proving that they're still the same quality squad that we know and love. Just really being proven their spot in the leaderboard here at the top of the board.
Yeah, absolutely. So FFYV2 falling Crossfire, proving that every team is really close to, even in this league, and from week to week, whoever is stronger can shift and change. Crossfire securing their place. They were starting to fall behind the pack a little bit. Now they're right there in a 3-way tie for second, with only Oracle AU able to push themselves head and shoulders above our other sort of leading teams.
That's right. It's looking a little bit messy now, but that means next week is even bigger with the games coming up. AGN versus Toons Reborn, and we're ending it with Need Uprising versus FFYV2.
Yeah, they could only dodge these top table matchups for so long. Of course, the first match is going to be a great appetizer. AGN, unfortunately, at this point, I believe, are out of contention. They've taken games off some of the top teams, though, so they are the perfect side to play spoiler for Toons, who are desperately trying to stay in touch with these sort of middle-of-the-table teams. Maybe with some favorable wins and losses, they can make it back, but all eyes will be on the second match as Needs Uprising try to, take back a bit of pride and maybe even the ladder lead.
That's right. This week it was massive, but next week looking even big because we're getting closer to the semi-finals, closer to the grand finals. So all these games are massive, but this is going to be it from this week for LPL, at least for tonight. But I believe it's 6:30 Monday night. The action's going to be coming back at LPL, and it's looking pretty hot. I'm excited, and I hope to see you there, guys. But we'll catch you then 6:30 Monday nights for more action here at LPL.
That's bad. I need sleep.
One really small thing.
Yeah.
GTH, you said 6:30 both